been talking about the sheltered learning of English.
Yes.
A lot of Iraqi teachers use their first language in their elementary school training practices. Do you think that's necessary or not? To what extent? What is the percentage you recommend for them to use English versus Arabic to clarify the instructions or going through the procedure of the lesson? Also, I'm sorry for that, but there's another interesting question, which is, do you recommend any textbook for English learners, or you just let them, try their own,
whatever works? Yeah. Going back to your first question. First question. Well,
I'm so excited. Actually, there are tons of questions, and you got a limited time, so
Sheltered instruction, as I've mentioned, is used heavily in our bilingual programs in the U.S. in the public schools. Native language is used, but not in every classroom. Majority of students are Spanish speakers that are in the U.S., so Spanish is a more commonly spoken first language for these students. I personally have never been completely against the use of first language in a classroom. I think when you're low level and you're new learning a language, I think you do need to use a certain amount of first language to help them be introduced into the second language. Now, in terms of percentages of how much that would be, I would say that the higher that you go, the less that you would probably be using that. Of course, it's based on the proficiency of the student and how quickly they acquire the language. But also challenging students to, at some point, not to rely so heavily on translation. I do have students who they want to translate everything in their first language, and I say, well, you're intermediate now. You need to start learning other strategies for understanding English than just looking in your dictionary, using Google Translate, which is a common thing.
So not a complete immersion in the second language, but rather, juggling a little bit of Arabic here, here and there. Going to the next question, which is like any recommended book or a textbook, or you just need to focus on the other sub skills?
Well, I mean, there's a variety of wonderful textbooks out there to learn English. Pearson's got several. Pearson publishes quite a few. It depends on which direction you're going. If you're planning just to study general English or go more into more specialized academic English, that would be
the video. One more thing. You've been to the school last week, right? It's an elementary school downtown Baghdad, and my question is this: you notice the teacher conducting the training on students, on a group of students. What did you think is the most important thing that the teacher should do and the students should do to maximize their learning?
Well,
of English.
Yeah, I think students need to be active learners, and active learners ask questions. They kind of take more of an initiative and connect more with the learning versus a passive approach in the classroom. And that's very important for language learning, for any subject. To be an active learner, you have a better chance of getting that A in class versus being a passive learner. Now, the teachers on the other side of that need to kind of relinquish some of that control. It's easier to be in that front of the classroom, especially with high school students or younger learners. But at some point, you do need to give the learners that time to practice and not be teacher-centered at all times. Have more student-student interactions.
Final comments?
Final comments. Good luck with your language learning. Many people have felt that English is a challenging language to learn. but it most certainly is not impossible.
Especially for people coming from Semitic language background.
Yes, yes.
A completely different system.
Yes, yeah, and that would be true for some of my Chinese students as well. They
Mhm.
have struggles with that as well. But yes, if you can get this language, it opens the doors to a lot of possibilities, and that's what's important, the doors of the future.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. If you have any other thoughts, please let me know so we can make another interesting video about it.
Okay.
What I will do now, I'll just cut the video and then I'll do a lot of editings to it. I'll purify the sound and then transfer the file to another program where I can add the slides and add some music and introduction in the beginning. And then you'll definitely get the chance to see it.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you.